Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. It is Q&A Tuesday. So if you are new to my channel, I take all of the questions that people ask about medical coding and anything related to the field, and I talk about it on a special episode, which is called Q&A Tuesday. You are seeing this on Wednesday because it is very late, and I did not want to submit this to everybody so late, especially if you have taken the time to hit that subscribe button and that bell that tells you that I have just posted another video. I did not want it to be going off at some really late hour of the day. If you were like me, today was a very long day. It feels like a Friday because we are getting settled into new routines at work. So we will see how that goes. We all just have to go with the flow. So without further ado, I will go ahead and start with the questions. And thank you to everybody who did submit a question. I really appreciate it because you guys are the reason that I have this episode. And you are the shapers of this episode. So thank you again for your questions. All right, number one. I am preparing to take a medical coding certificate program at my local college. Would you recommend taking an anatomy, a physiology, and medical terminology class before registering for the medical coding certificate program? Okay, usually in these programs, all of that is already included. Does it help if you have some of this knowledge beforehand? Heck yes. However, I am a strong advocate for learning for as cheaply as you possibly can. I would recommend not doing it. Yes, it would be good, but to me, I don't think that you should have to spend extra money if it's already included in your program. Like I said, if you already have all this knowledge on your own, then that's something different. Obviously, that's going to be a feather in your cap because you're going to be so much more ahead. The big thing about medical coding is understanding your medical terminology and anatomy physiology. You really do have to understand that, along with pharmacology, and there's a lot of other things you've got to understand. But at least if you have a good foundation, you're on the right path. Like I said, however, you are given this information while you're in the program. It doesn't matter which one you're going through. It is like the fundamental basic part of a course, right? So just keep that in mind. I wouldn't do it if I were you, only because, like I said, it's already included, and why spend extra money? If you want to, it's entirely up to you. But like I said, if you're going to take the time to learn beforehand, go to the public library, check out books on anatomy, physiology, medical terminology, even pharmacology, and start writing out flashcards, because trust me, that is really going to help you in the long run, okay? Those flashcards they will really help, okay? So that answers that one. The next one, what dilemmas do you face as a coder when timely documentation is not received from physicians or other healthcare staff? Is it getting the claim on time? So here's the thing. When I have sent a query to a provider and the provider does not, and I guess I should tell you guys beforehand, I do not do any of the billing. I just do the coding, okay? And there are some medical coders that do both. They do both the billing and the coding. I see an eyelash on my face. I did wash my hands, just so you guys know. There's some medical coders who do both the billing and the coding. Then there are medical coders who just do the medical coding, and then there are just medical billers who just do the billing. I just do the medical coding. So whenever I do have a query and I'm working an encounter and I do have a query, I submit the query. I wait a couple of days. If the provider has not responded to me, I will do one follow-up. And if they still don't respond to me, I will just go ahead and submit it with whatever I have. If the documentation is not complete, or if it's not as specific as it can be, there's really nothing that you can do. You can't hold on to the encounter. You can't hold on to the record. You have to just go ahead and just send it through with what it is because it will show that you did try to query. As long as you are going the path of your queries, different facilities have theirs set up differently. Some of them have a uniform form that you have to fill out. Others, you are drafting the query on your own, maybe using a template or whatever. And as long as you are showing you have a paper trail, right? And as far as like emails and things like that, email traffic that you have tried and then you have attempted to get this provider to either clarify or correct or do whatever they need to do to the encounter, so that it may be processed through. As long as you have your information backing you up, all of your evidence that you did try, then there's nothing else that you can do. You will encounter some providers that just do not respond well to queries. This is when developing those relationships really does help. Sometimes I can honestly say that providers do forget to answer. So that's why you have that follow-up a couple of days later. Don't keep hammering them. If they don't answer you once, then just go ahead and process it through. They will learn eventually when you do things like that, when you have a very set and clear way of doing things. They will learn that if you are not playing games, you are not playing games. This is not about you're telling them what to do, or you're trying to make their life harder. It's not about that. You are their partner, and they should know this. You are their partner, and you are trying to get them all of the credit that they absolutely deserve. And you are trying to make sure that the patient is not overpaying or underpaying, okay, for their visit with this provider. So when you are doing that, you're helping a lot of different people. So like I said, as long as you make sure that you have all of your paper trail and you're doing everything you're supposed to, all you can do is just submit the information. That's all you can do. Eventually, that provider will see that their numbers have dipped, or that they're not generating as much as they thought they were generating. And so when that happens, they'll usually come looking for you then. So that's when, again, it goes back to developing those good relationships with your providers. Then you won't have that issue. And then they'll just be quick about answering and responding to your queries. Now, I will tell you guys this. Pick and choose your battles with your providers. If you can code an encounter and you don't really need to query, sometimes you will absolutely need to query, yes. But if it's a judgment call and you can just go ahead and process it through with what is there, just use your best judgment. There are some things that are so trivial that I just don't even, I'm not even going to follow up on it, because it has either no bearing on the encounter, or there's insufficient documentation for it anyway. It's just a bunch of different things. But you can make those decisions, especially if it's something that's very trivial and really no bearing on the encounter. It is more of, in those instances, it's more of a where you're trying to do clinical documentation improvement. And that's something completely different. Because then that has really nothing to do with the encounter, more of making the documentation better so that the information is more complete. Okay, so that is my answer on that one. Yeah, I mean, it does get a little, a little heartbreaking when you are trying really hard and they are not responding to your queries. That's when you really do need to take the bull by the horns and go physically to them and start talking to them and developing this good relationship, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get through sometimes to providers, okay? And I encourage you guys to watch my provider education videos, so that way you can sort of get an idea. And even though sometimes I am just talking stories in them, it does sort of give you a good idea of what you may come up against, okay? So I'm just saying. All right, next question. I have severe anxiety and panic attacks. Approximately how many people work in the same department as you on a regular basis? Okay, so for every facility, it is going to be different. When I first started at my facility that I'm currently at, we were 20 women in one room. 20 women in one room. And so that does get to be a little bit on your nerves. But then that's when you have your headphones and things like that where you can sort of work with that. And you get used to it after a while. I will caution anybody that comes to me and tells me that they have extreme anxiety and with panic attacks and things like that. I am cautioning you on this. I don't know if it is just that people who have these panic attacks and anxiety, I don't know if it is something that is organically going on with them, or I don't know if it is just because like socially, it is like they get overwhelmed with a lot of things. And if it is like a social thing, where you can sort of immerse yourself into those kind of situations slowly. Okay, I'm not a doctor. Okay, and I'm just saying this as far as like giving you guys like some idea of, sometimes we think that we have issues, but it's really sometimes, like I said, I don't know if it's organic, because if it's organic, then that's something different. Then that's, you know, there are ways to get help for that. But if it is just that you haven't maybe been in the workforce in a long time, and the thought is like overwhelming to you, and then you're not used to being around a lot of people, that's something that's different. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Some people get very nervous and they start having that anxiety feeling, and they say, oh no, I'm gonna panic. It's really not that bad. You have to just sort of immerse yourself into that sort of environment. And yes, it is going to be a little scary at first. It's going to be a little overwhelming at first. You are going to encounter other people that are going to be completely different from you. And everybody is unique, and everybody can bring something to the table. You just have to think about what it is that you're bringing to the table. And so when you feel these feelings of, oh, I feel like this anxiety feeling and this panic feeling, then you can sort of rely on your knowledge and all of your skills and everything else that you know that you're going to bring to this group, to this facility, to this organization, and that can quiet all of those anxiety feelings from coming up. It can quiet all of that, okay? But you have to believe in yourself. And I always recommend reading self-help books as far as like how to gain confidence, because I think that's really huge. Sometimes when people are telling me, and I've seen it because so many people have said it, that they've had problems in the past where they felt like they had anxiety, or they felt like they had panic attacks. And I know some people genuinely do have that. But for those that are feeling that way, that is something different. And it was all about turning around their thought process and helping them to gain more confidence in themselves. Because that's when we feel most vulnerable, right? When we don't have confidence, when we feel like, oh gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, and I am just so scared, and I don't know what to do next. It is all about educating yourself, because when we are educated and we know, right, when we know what's going to happen, then we're okay. If you know that something is going to be bumpy as far as like your education in becoming a medical coder, if you know from the onset that it is going to be a lot, you are going to be prepared for it, for those moments when it is going to feel like a lot, okay? And then versus somebody that is told a very rosy story, that it is very easy to get into medical coding, that it is very easy to learn medical coding, that you can learn it overnight, that you can learn it in 3 days or 5 days or 10 days or 2 weeks, and or whatever the case may be. uh and then come to find out that it is a process. It is a lot of learning. It is a development. Okay, it is not an overnight thing. It is not a few days thing. This is a development. This is an investment. This career field is totally an investment. Okay, this is not something that you can just, like I said, just jump right into. And the only way to get really comfortable and to get more confident is to study, study, study. I will always say that: study, study, study. I will also highly recommend those self-help books and anything to help you build your self-esteem and build your confidence up. There is nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, I have low self-esteem, but I'm working on it. I am doing things to move my life in a positive direction." There's nothing wrong with that. Some people don't feel comfortable saying that. But, I didn't start out with all of the confidence in the world either. All I knew was that I loved learning. I love to learn. And I know that I can rely on myself to read when I need to read and study when I need to study. So that part really did help in the development of making me a medical coder. Okay. So as long as you have that willingness to study, that willingness to move forward, okay? And if you make a mistake, and if you don't understand something, it's okay. We know, and we move on. That is all a part of it, okay? It is a lot. I will say that. I always say that in my videos, because I want to be straight with you guys as much as possible. My eye just is not. Because I feel like I have like a lash on my eye, but I know I don't. I'm just like, I don't know. It just feels weird. Anyway, like I said, when you have all of these things and you're going through all of these things and you're learning and stuff, that is investing towards making you more confident. And when you're more confident, you will become unstoppable. So think of it like that, okay? And don't be hard on yourself. If you can't get something right away, don't be hard on yourself. Just learn from it and move on, okay? Like I said, every facility is different, and because every facility is different, it's impossible to tell you guys like what it is going to be like. I have my own office now. I did for a long time share my office with another lady, and sometimes it was good and sometimes it wasn't so good, and I'm just being honest about that. Sometimes people don't respect other people's space. Sometimes people don't respect other people's, need to work, and they want to talk. And to me, I love what I do, and my providers are always my priority. And because of that, it irritates some people, especially when you have a office mate, who wants to talk. And when my first goal is to get my provider's work done, like all the encounters, that's what I'm looking to do. I'm not looking to chit chat. I will chit chat because I am social, but I'm not gonna be. When it comes down to it, it's my priority is my providers, and that's the way I've always been, and that's the way I will always be. Okay, so if I have time after, then heck yes, because I think it makes for good camaraderie, good morale, but they're always going to come first, my providers. So, that's the way that I think. But yes, don't sort of get into your thoughts, because those negative thoughts can be overwhelming, and it just becomes a vicious cycle. Okay, so think positively. Okay, don't think that that's the first thing in your head. I have anxiety and I have panic attacks, and I don't know if I could do this. If you want to do this, you'll do it. If you want to do it, you'll do it. And trust me, for me, in my opinion, it is worth it. It is fulfilling. It is intellectually stimulating. But yes, I mean, to me, it is worth it. I'm just saying. Okay, so moving on. The last question is, what books do you recommend when it comes to coursework, like in a medical coding course? Should I just go with what is given for my program that I am taking, or should I get the Optum 360 coding books? Okay, this is not an ad, but Optum 360. I'm going to say that every time. If you are taking the AAPC course, they have their own books, okay? So I use Optum 360, and Optum 360 has a lot of detail in their books, especially in the ICD-10 book, in all their books, really. But because AAPC has their own, some people, when they're going through the course, they use theirs because it comes with a bundle. But if you have a chance to look at the Optum 360 ICD-10 coding book, The Expert for Physicians, it is a really, really good resource, especially when you are really learning in the beginning, because it's giving you all the notes. Now, I have never seen the AAPC ICD-10 book, but I know that it's different from the Optum 360 book. So just if you ever have a chance to check it out, check out a Optum 360 ICD-10 book, so that way you can see the difference for yourself. Okay, like I said, it's entirely up to you, but that is just what I recommend. Okay, so with that, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. But I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you like it, please hit the thumbs up, comment below. Share it. I would really appreciate it. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up because it is getting very late and I got to go to bed. So if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.